SynAct Pharma announced in early November that the company noticed multiple issues with the Resolve Phase 2 clinical trial data and that you told your contract research organization, or CRO, that SynAct will start a third-party audit of both your Resolve and Expand studies. Can you walk us through what happened and what SynAct has been doing since then?
Absolutely, Martin. So let me take you a little bit back in terms of what is clinical development, what is important in clinical development. And obviously that is a very regulated activity. Regulated because you need to ensure the patient's safety, but you also need to ensure that you get results that you can trust. So the accuracy of the results is quite important. In that work, you also need to have the selection of the patients in the right way. You need to randomize, that is, you need to put the patients on either the active treatment or the placebo. And you need to follow the patients very, very carefully all through the study. If we look at the Expand study, that was a 12-week study. If you look at the Resolve, that was a 4-week study. But Resolve had also several or 3 different doses of resomelagon or AP1189. And in addition to that, you have several different sites in different countries. So it's quite complicated. So at SynAct Pharma, as in quite a few other smaller companies, we have decided from the beginning to outsource that work to a contract research organization, a clinical one, that can ensure us that we get the right patients, we get the follow-up of the patients, and everything is done according to all the regulatory rules that are. And instead of building a large organization in-house. But even big pharma do contract research organizations. So this is what we have done. We have paid our research organization, the contract research organization, we have paid them to do that work, which is extremely important. So they had responsibilities of selecting the right patients, randomizing them, and have that very tight follow-up of the patients all through the study. Also ensuring that they get the active treatment, those that should have the active treatment, and those that should have the placebo get the placebo. So all in all, quite complicated, and we have outsourced that, and responsibility for that is then on the CRO. So when we unblinded the data from Resolve, we were extremely surprised because we saw quite quickly quite a few irregularities in the study. Irregularities meaning that we could not really trust the data. And this is a very special situation to be in. We then, together with the board, decided that we need to dig more into the Resolve data before getting any conclusion out from it. A bad situation to be in. And then we also decided to have a so-called audit. An audit is when a third party comes in and digs into the study, goes from site to site, and to go from the patients to the monitoring, to see how the monitoring was done, and so on and so forth. So it's quite laborious. But we decided to do that on Resolve, but we also decided to take a look at Expand. And why is that? That is because we want to ensure that we have a good quality in Expand, and bearing in mind the fact that there are several overlapping sites in both Bulgaria as well as in Moldova between those two. And bearing in mind the fact that we want to go to the FDA and other regulatory authorities with the data from Resolve and expand whatever we can get out of it, and show them that in order to continue the development of resomelagon within inflammatory diseases. So this is important. So what we're doing at the moment in SynAct is quite a few different things. However, we are continuing to assess the data and the setup of Resolve, but we have also gone through the other studies with good results.
And when do you expect to present the Resolve data?
The Resolve data will be presented when the audit has been done, because that is the time where we can say, okay, now we can trust what we see, and then it's time to come to a conclusion and to communicate that to our stakeholders.
And how could this have happened?
Yeah, good question. No, we will have the answer of that when we have seen the audit report.
And can we trust any of the data from either the EXPAND or RESOLVE studies?
Yeah. So when I go back and when we go back in the company, together with our advisors as well, and look at the BEGIN study, which was the first study, we firmly believe in the BEGIN data. These were the 4 weeks data, so no doubt about that. And then when we look at the EXPAND data, we came out when we had looked at the so-called, the large group that has a CRP, systemic inflammation, about 3, and we firmly believe in those data as well. So we see good activity with resomelagon in the studies that we have done. I mean the BEGIN study, the EXPAND study as well. What we need to look more into in the EXPAND study is the first 4 weeks. What was going on in the first 4 weeks in the different sites? As you might remember, we came out with with pretty exciting results after 12 weeks. But it seems that something happens between 0 and 4 weeks, and then more solid data after that. So we need to understand that more, and we believe that the audit of the EXPAND study will hopefully give us some answers on that. So yes, we definitely believe in the data that I just mentioned. Absolutely.
If the conclusion of the audit is that the result data cannot be used, can you make a new study for a DMARD IR patients?
Yeah, we cannot make any conclusion of that at this point of time. We need to have the audit reports. We need to understand what has been going on. However, as I said, we firmly believe that there is a place for resomelagon in inflammatory diseases and maybe even in rheumatoid arthritis. So we will come out with a plan for that, and in the so-called R&D day that should have happened in the end of this year, but will now happen after the audit reports in Q1 next year, so soon.
And you had ongoing discussions with potential partners before. Is there still interest in resomelagon from big pharma?
Absolutely. So we continue to have contact and discussions with potential partners. The resomelagon mode of action and compound in itself is really interesting because you get a decrease in inflammation without having a so-called immunosuppression, and we still see that. So that is a very good thing, and that is quite important for potential partners as well in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, but also in the treatment of other inflammatory diseases. So yes, we continue to have discussions with them. What is important, as for you and me, is of course the fact that we need to see the whole audit. We need to understand what has been going on in fully before we can actively really get into contact. But we are having quite a good, fruitful discussions here.
And when you look at SynAct today, what would you say are the value drivers?
Yeah, several value drivers actually. As I have told you during this interview, I believe, and the rest of the management team and quite a few others believe in the prospect of resomelagon within inflammatory diseases. Now we have got some setbacks in rheumatoid arthritis, we need to understand that. However, when we go back and look at all the data we have, both from preclinical as well as preclinical is the animal models, right? And the different studies we have done, including in COVID-19, very severe inflammatory patients. We believe that we see activity, no doubt about that. So we need to decide how to continue the development and have these talks with, for example, FDA about that. I think it's important to have them, of course, into the loop, and they can give us guidance as well within RA. In addition to that, we have the whole portfolio of peptides that we acquired last year. So these are peptides within the melanocortin receptor field as well, right? Some of them have the same kind of mode of action that we see with resomelagon. However, it opens up a totally new field of indications, and it opens up a totally new field for us of different business opportunities. And this will we be talking a lot more about at the R&D day in Q1. But I think there's a lot of, hopefully a lot of good hidden value in that. And remember the GXP11, the peptide that is most advanced, will get into the clinical development in 2024, so soon to come. So I think it's a lot of different values in the portfolio. We have some setbacks right now, but I can assure you that we are all working very diligently in order to get SynAct Pharma on the right track again. I have a fantastic management team. The board is really, really good in these times as well, and I'm sure that we'll get there. So stay tuned.
Thank you very much, Torbjörn, for your time, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much.